it's actually good for your KPIs if you help the SEO team. You have to like tie the SEO message and the SEO strategy to the success of the marketing program as a whole.
Hi Michael, welcome to our Leaders in SaaS Marketing series. How are you today?
Doing well, Paul. Thanks for the invitation. It's good to be here.
Yeah, brilliant. Would you mind just introducing yourself a little bit and telling us a little bit about Paylocity as well, the business you work for?
Yeah, sure thing. My name is Michael Farr. I work for Paylocity, which is a US-based payroll and HR software company. Lots of payroll companies out there. I think our differentiator is we try to be very employee-centric. We try to say that, we design payroll and HR software that employees actually want to use. So our thing is a lot of employee engagement features, employee survey tools, kind of a social media platform for internal corporations. So we think of ourselves as kind of a growth forward, tech space in a place where there's a lot of legacy players.
Brilliant. And your job title at Paylocity?
Yeah, I'm the senior SEO manager. So I lead our SEO team, which at Paylocity is structured under demand generation and then marketing.
Tell me then, I think what's interesting for a lot of people listening is how SEO slots into the overall marketing strategy within a SaaS in particular. So given there's multiple marketing channels, how do you get SEO done at a big SaaS like that?
A lot of diplomacy, I would say. I think especially for that kind of like mid-size enterprise company, which I would say we are. We're big, but we're not like huge. And so we have like an SEO team, but it's fairly small. And so we definitely do not have all the resources that we need to get our job done. Because, as your listeners, and you certainly know, SEO is a lot of things. It's not, we'll get more into this, I think, as we start talking. But, I'm big into SEO. Should be central to a marketing strategy because it touches so many different parts, especially your website. So, we have to learn how to work with a lot of internal stakeholders and also external help as well. I mean, I worked with Accelerate, and you guys did some SEO work for us and worked with other external agency partners. So you have to like figure out a way to get the help that you need when you don't have the time or the resources to do it internally, because we have the strategy, we have sort of like the think tank, the brain, but we just don't have the ability to execute everything we would need to do to actually be successful. So writers, developers, designers, you need all that when you're developing SEO content.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's education, isn't it? Because people can quite easily just think of SEO as, well, you're targeting keywords. It's so easy to compare to paid. Paid's just definitely not doing a service to paid. Paid is incredibly complex and incredibly important part of the marketing strategy, but they're so different that you can't compare. So how do you push through business cases, I guess, in that world to get these resources you need?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the paid component because everywhere I've worked, that's an issue. People are like, oh, search, I get search. It's like the stuff that shows up at the top of my search result page on Google.
I want to be there now.
Yeah, I want to be there. And it's like, no, that's the paid side. So you have to, for a lot of people, even today, you still have to sort of explain that difference between paid and organic. And there's very different strategies. And the baggage that comes with that is that people expect similar results from organic as paid. And I think especially in the SaaS space where maybe this isn't true for every company, but I think at least in my experience in the SaaS space, you're not getting a lot of traffic to product pages because a lot of the product pages are, I don't know, the keywords you would expect to rank for they more show like informational keywords in Google, and so it's a lot of top of funnel SEO work you end up doing. Whereas with a e-commerce site, something like that, your product pages are bringing in the majority of your SEO traffic. And so with that kind of dynamic, it is more challenging to show ROI, kind of direct revenue off your SEO efforts. You have to be a little more creative about those metrics and definitely get alignment from leaders early on if you're going to be successful and get that buy-in.
Yeah, set those expectations, right? SEO is often thought of as it's a bottom of the funnel sort of channel when it so isn't. It's a full funnel channel. It's about, I think what SEOs struggle to do, like you've sort of touched upon then, is add value to that top of the funnel traffic, because the way it works with with clients or with big internal stakeholders that you've got to manage is first they'll want rankings, so they'll say I've searched this, why am I not appearing there? Then they'll say why's my traffic not up? Then they'll say why's my leads not up? And it's this like this, then that, and I think the conversation needs to change, right? To think of those things more holistically.
I do. I'm a big proponent of that. I try to talk to CMOs in terms of branding. I think, yeah, I think if there's any CMOs or our general marketing leaders listening to this, I mean, try to think of SEO in the same way you think about brand, because at the end of the day, like, it's kind of like brand for the internet. I mean, like if you want to show up where people are looking, that's SEO, and like SEO touches just about everything that you do. I mean, your corporate marketing efforts, that's going to affect how successful your SEO program is, because Google's algorithm takes into account all these different signals, and the signals are going to pick up activity on the stuff you're doing for brand, or the places that you're showing up off site. You can have an SEO create a very technically sound website and do all the typical SEO strategies, but if you're not showing up in those third-party review sites, or there's a lot of awareness about your brand, you're still going to struggle with SEO, and that's not a problem an SEO team, a small one especially, can solve on its own. So, in order for an SEO team to be successful, they really do have to have kind of the buy-in from up top to go get help from all these different teams, even if those teams are not SEO specialists themselves.
No, I agree. If we're talking about that, then buy-in, because I think that's such a good point. Everyone has a different view of SEO, but you've got to convince the senior stakeholders, the budget holders there, because ultimately we know the value as SEOs, but it's about translating it to a language that they sort of understand. So putting it in more of a marketing term, then let's sell SEO, let's market SEO, right? Why is SEO in 2024, scarily people are going to start talking about 2025 now, but why in 2024 is SEO important for SaaS, for a SaaS marketing strategy?
Well, I like to, for people who aren't SEO specialists, I like to talk about SEO as more questions than keywords. Maybe that's something they understand a little more tangibly. Like, these are questions that your customers are asking. Don't you want to answer them? And if you're not answering them, then your competitors are answering them, or some random user on Reddit is answering them. And so if you can kind of frame it that way, get them to stop thinking about SEO as this kind of scary technical world, but like, this is just questions people are asking, and our brand needs to provide an answer. So like, as SEOs, we just got to get our heads out of the super technical, pedantic space. Especially if, like I said, you're kind of you're in a small team, you don't have all the resources you need, because you need to get content teams and CMOs to buy into why this is really important, besides just a keyword ranking, which can be kind of intangible, I think, for a lot of executives. So there's kind of reframing it in ways that they understand, and certainly as SEOs, we got to do better about tying it to business impact and learning how to talk about SEO, not just about keywords and keyword volume, but using general business terms that they understand.
I couldn't agree more. I think detaching SEO from the word keyword, which it's become just synonymous with, is so important in 2024, because people's search habits are changing. People think people type in a keyword, you add those keywords to your copy, you rank for that keyword. It's not that anymore. People are looking for answers, and they are changing how they're typing into search engines because of AI, right? So I think that's a really important distinction. I think I really like two things you said. One, about thinking about SEO as answering questions, but two, putting it in that tactic of, well, wouldn't you want to answer them, not someone else? And I don't know if it's something you've used. We probably touched upon it when we worked together, but we use, and are starting to use a lot more, the metric of sort of share of voice and share of value, because it shows that value of like, okay, hey, here's what everyone's searching for in your industry. Here are the major players. Here's like the market share of those keywords or questions or searches. Here's where you are against that. And it gives them a tangible thing to work towards, to go, okay, well, if it's not generating leads, I can see actually my market share growing. so I know my audience is growing, and then it's my more aggressive channels, outbound or paid, to convert them, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know if you've got any other interesting metrics you sort of use to pitch SEO, or is it just kind of continuously proving that business case?
Yeah, I think if you're talking specifically about the SaaS space. I think one challenge we have is that a lot of times our product is so closely associated with our brand, and so I think this might not be as much of a problem in the e-commerce space, because you might Google a product, end up on a company's website, and you buy it there. You never even know the brand, and so I guess what the point I'm getting at is that like we have to deal with a lot of branded traffic. That's like the vast majority of traffic we get to our website. And we have to learn how to separate that branded traffic from non-branded traffic, or that client traffic from non-client traffic, because people go to Paylocity to log in. They Google Paylocity login or something like that. And so when you look at an organic traffic sheet, I mean, like you can never just look at organic traffic just straight. You have to like segment it in so many different ways for it to even be helpful. So I always try to show leaders like, okay, here's branded traffic, and then here's non-branded traffic. I focus on the non-branded side because ultimately, like, that's what I can control the most. The branded traffic is going to be influenced by our entire marketing activity and everything that we do as a company, and that goes back to everything kind of touches SEO. I mean, you kind of would hope that they rise in tandem. In theory, and you would hope that like as you increase your non-branded activity, more people become aware of you. But there's certainly so many other things that go into that branded traffic. And so you just have to get them looking at the right stats, because if they're just looking at a generic dashboard of organic traffic, it might look flat. And that's been a challenge at Paylocity, where it's like we get so much traffic from our branded name compared to everything else that like if you just look at that, it's kind of hard to see our impact. But if you just take that brand traffic away, you definitely can see the impact.
I think that's key. Yeah, that's a great education piece, isn't it? If we're talking about what metrics to show the value of success against, that first education piece on brand versus non-brand and why that's so important, which just gets overlooked, especially in the bigger the company, you're in or you're working with or for, the more it gets overlooked, because the more complicated marketing channels they have, the more stakeholders they have, and the more these metrics kind of get lost, and it just blends into organic traffic. And you can work with some sort of bad SEO agencies that way, who ride on the coattails of that brand. It's a big distinction. We're always very conscious to make. I think with what we're talking about, we've kind of touched upon changing how we think about SEO. It's probably a good time to segue a little bit into the sort of big news with the current algo updates and what's going on with Google at the moment. What's your early take on this helpful content update, this major update that's happened, and what you're seeing, if anything, with Paylocity at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, I can't say that I have like a super strong hot take. We have not been that affected by it. I think everyone, of course, is talking about AI. It wouldn't be a 2024 podcast without talking about AI. So we do see some situations where we're listed as the top ranking, in SEMrush or whatever tool we're using, and yet we're not getting a lot of traffic to that. And I think a lot of it not all of it, but I think some of it has to do with the AI overview. People are just getting their answers straight off Google, So, that's not a new challenge, though. I mean, we've dealt with SERP changes for years, and at the end of the day, what I always tell my team is don't freak out over these things. Like, people are still going to be searching, and I think really just as SEOs, we need to position ourselves as website strategists and content strategists, and we're gonna adapt and change to whatever the technology does. So people are going to change how they search. People are going to change how they get to your website, and it's our job to just adjust to that. It's not like SEO is going away. It's going to look different. We are trying to diversify our strategy, because a lot of the just straight up informational queries are being answered by the AI overviews, and so if that's where you've been getting the majority of your traffic, you're probably going to be taking a hit. So I think it's incumbent upon SEOs to start looking more carefully, if they aren't already, at I guess what you might call like mid-funnel queries, like things that are more specific to your product, your brand, questions people are asking about your type of solution, because that kind of gets at more at your core customer and is less likely to be affected by these kind of broad AI overview compilations of Wikipedia and various other sources.
No, I agree. I do think SEO is fundamentally changing, but yeah, I mean, I can't wait to see all the SEO is dead in 2025 posts when they come out, right? But it's just more that it's exactly what you said. It's being ahead of the curve to say, well, we're serving useful information in a now in a different way.
Yeah.
And I think it's the SE part of SEO that's changing. All we are is, like you said, content optimizers, right? But instead of a search engine, it's just an AI, it's an LLM, it's different things like that. So how then are you sort of incorporating those AI overviews into your strategy if you're starting to look at that yet?
I don't think it's really changed fundamentally like how we make content, because I think the principles are still the same about how you would create content for like a rich snippet. For those who aren't familiar with the term, it's like you Google some terms and Google provides like just a definition on the top, and we've been optimizing for that for a long time. And in some ways, I just think the AI overview is a more sophisticated version of that, where it's pulling in that definition, but this time it's maybe more dynamic or slightly more original, and compiled from multiple sources instead of just one.
Yeah, I think perhaps in the better question, because you are right, it's a new way of serving the same information. All of this, whether it's produced from an AI, no, it's still coming from a base source information. So content is very much live and kicking. It's what forms on all of this. But I think with that in mind, then maybe it's not a question of how are you changing SEO, but how are you reporting on it? Because I agree with you. We've seen some more volatility for some areas, some less for others. But we're seeing that discrepancy between like an SEO tool and like Search Console. So maybe SEMrush or Ahrefs is going, you guys are killing it. And if there's an education piece that, a CMO or whoever might be looking at that, they're like, brilliant, but it's not translating into clicks. And these tools aren't picking that up yet because your rankings are there, your estimated click-throughs are there, but now CTR's dropping through the roof because, like you say, all the informational queries are being answered. So, I mean, actually, I guess a better question is there a tool that you're aware of yet that can monitor that? Because it's about, reporting to the higher-ups or whoever it might be, CTR's down, but actually what we're doing is working, and here's the proof of it. It's just a new way of looking at it.
Yeah. Well, I know SEMrush has started to implement like an AI overview icon on all your rankings, so you can kind of quickly tell. Like sometimes I'll see, I'm ranking number 1, but then there's a little AI overview icon next to it. And I'm like, okay, that's why maybe I'm not getting as much traffic as I thought. As far as the reporting question, I think in general, I try not to report like rankings and keywords to executives much. And that's been a practice I've had for a long time. Just because, I mean, a lot of them I would just say it opens a can of worms, and you can get lost in that data if you're not sort of trained in looking at it every single day. And so I think as SEOs, focus on like traffic, because the keyword rankings might be a bit deceptive, but keep watching the traffic, keep watching the Google clicks. Those are things people understand.
But if those clicks are down because of the increased, knowledge panel shares and set features and AI overviews, how are you pitching that to, a C-suite? Yeah,
well, luckily we have not seen it. I think if you are seeing it, well, times are changing, and you got to shift strategy. So I think we've been spared a little bit just because the stuff that we go after is fairly technical, and I've seen that it's only a minority of our queries that actually get picked up for AI overview. And so I think the more technical or the more like close you get to like legal and compliance issues, I think maybe the more hesitant Google is to provide an AI overview. That's been my experience at least. So, if you're losing a lot of traffic to AI overviews, you need to kind of shift the stuff you're focused on. I think that's just going to be a new reality for us going forward.
No, I agree. I think it's a mindset change, isn't it, from people who maybe just want to see a graph going up, to actually going, well, what does this mean? What are we getting here? We're getting this.
Well, I think maybe the bigger principle behind this is just like is that traffic valuable to you anyway? I think for SEO, we love showing traffic. We love showing the clicks, and that's certainly important. We certainly need that brand awareness, but I think more and more we have to think about the value of that traffic. This is not a new conversation. We've been talking for a long time, but this is just another gradation of that, where we're losing traffic just to the SERP, to the search engine result page itself. And so, we might lose some of that traffic, but frankly, a lot of it doesn't convert anyway, as a lot of us know. You might have a super high volume query, but people just read it and bounce. So more and more, as SEOs, we need to focus on content that actually reflects our customer, our prospect, and rely less on just the general informational stuff. That stuff is good. I'm still doing it. Our team is still doing it. I think it's worthwhile, but it definitely shouldn't be the linchpin of your strategy.
No, I agree. Like I said earlier, it's just that full funnel approach, and maybe it's just understanding that what success looks like for top of the funnel is different now. Success maybe now for an informational query isn't the clicks you used to get for it, but it's the it's closely linked to impressions, coupled with if you've got the AI overview, perhaps. But speculating at this point, we'll know a lot more in the next coming weeks. I do think this is a bit of a warning from Google, because they sort of send out these big algo updates, and we've noticed it start to roll back a bit. We're seeing AI overviews less, and it does feel a bit like this is what's coming. Here's a little warning. We'll roll back a bit to give you some chance to catch your breath.
Well, yeah, I was reading the August core update note yesterday, and they specifically called out we're trying to push down content that seems to be made just for SEO, and it's a little nebulous. How do you interpret that? I mean, we definitely make content for SEO, but I think there's a certain amount of effort that you put into it, that it's not just for SEO. Yes, it is made for SEO, but it's also actually helpful content. Where we've all run across content before where it's like, this is not helpful, and I know it was just made for SEO. So honestly, it's kind of an old conversation at this point, but you definitely should not be creating content that its only job is to show up for keywords. Honestly, it doesn't even work anymore, frankly. And Google is just becoming increasingly smarter and punishing you for it. So SEO, you still need to make content for SEO, sure, but it's got to have some value to it, and think about how you're bringing unique value to it. So we always integrate, product specific things or customer specific use cases as a way to make it more relevant to our product, and try to push people beyond just taking an answer and leaving. So, think about how you're adding value to the content. Don't just farm it out and expect it to work.
No, I agree, and it makes sense with your ethos. What you said, it's a content strategy. SEO is part of everything. So, if we lean into that a little bit, and just to ask one more question on that point, if it's central to your overall strategy, but we know we have challenges as SEOs if there's a brand page that we want to work on, but then maybe it's got a separate stakeholder that's owning it or updating it. How do you, in a SaaS sort of marketing world, navigate that terrain where SEO isn't everyone's priority, right?
Yes. Yeah. And I think... Yeah,
I can feel you sort of shaking off the bureaucracy.
All these memories.
Shuddering the memories.
All these memories, yeah. Just taking it back to the basics. There's the old principle of winning friends and influencing people, and you gotta make people feel like they're getting something out of it. If you're just going around as an SEO saying, I need this, I need that, then it just feels like you're taking, and people obviously aren't going to respond well to that. So you need, like I said earlier in the podcast, you're kind of a diplomat as an in-house SEO, especially at a small team, because I have to convince other teams hey, it's actually good for your KPIs if you help the SEO team hit our KPIs, and so you have to tie the SEO message and the SEO strategy to the success of the marketing program as a whole. By you helping us do this, our brand gets more lift, talking to a corporate marketing team or, dev team, by you helping us hit these SEO dev metrics, it's going to make our site quicker and more efficient. And that's good for your reporting to your boss, or your our content team, they have a KPI for ebook downloads. So it's hey, by you contributing to our SEO blog, our SEO content team, it's more opportunities for us to insert ebook promos into the content. And so that's going to get more clicks and more download. And so you can't just focus on like clicks, impressions, keywords, rankings. Like if you just stay in that world, you're not going to win as an in-house SEO. You have to figure out how to connect your metrics to everyone else's metrics.
No, I agree. It's been a recurring theme in this series, speaking to leaders and even CMOs, and it's just trying to create that shared marketing activity, because everything gets so siloed, especially when you work in sometimes smaller sort of agile teams and you're all focusing on your own areas. Yeah. You've got so much to do in your own area. I think it's hard. I think I don't know actually, is there an element of sometimes having to cut your losses, sometimes having to go, actually I would love this page to be optimized, but it's the wrong page. To do that I need to find a way around this?
Yes, you have to choose which hills you're gonna die on. And I think part of just relationships is learning how to give and take. So, yeah, sometimes I get into a disagreement with the dev team or the content team about how to do this or that, what to focus on, and I just have to say, I think actually the more common thing is like with the product team, because the product team, they want to use certain language that is unique and new and makes the product seem fresh. Yeah, but I'm like, but
they want to change it up regularly.
People aren't searching that, no, better if we use this term. And I get this, there's some headbutting there, but like sometimes I just have to say, it doesn't matter. Like, or like, the keyword volume for this query is really low anyway, and it's just it's not worth damaging the relationship over this little thing. So you do have to choose your battles, and you have to be honest with yourself as an SEO. Is this really going to move the needle, or is this just a best practice that I'm trying to follow? And that goes back to that pedantic world we can live in as SEOs sometimes, where it's like we know our best practices and the check marks and the things you have to write. Honestly, like sometimes it's not that important.
I think you're so right. I think SEOs get drawn into the pedantry because by nature, by being an SEO, you're attention to detail, and then it's really important what you said, stepping back, going, no, actually, I'm trying to get results here for this company as a whole. Actually, I need to step back and go, that's fine. We'll create a new landing page, maybe elsewhere, that's not on the main nav or something like that. I always remember working with a car insurance company, and they were trying to name a new product, and they kept bringing me in as the SEO, running these like made up product names by me. So, is this one good for SEO? Is this one good for SEO? So, unless you name your product specifically the generic query that everyone's searching, doesn't matter. Honestly, just focus on your outbound, your push marketing, get it in front of people. But, it was hugely enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean that's another point, a little bit off topic, but it just the idea of bringing in an SEO, that comes up a lot. Like CMOs listening, general marketers listening, like make sure to involve your SEO early on in conversations, like because if you're bringing them in after all the big decisions have already made, then you've taken away their ability to do their job. There's a lot of things that an SEO brings to the table, from product inception, like naming a product, even the language, the messaging that you're using in all of your external communications, all of that has SEO implications. And so if you're just asking them to optimize a page, it's kind of it sort of feels to us like you're asking us to like sprinkle magic dust on something, not actually make any real decisions. So
just add the magic at the end.
Yes, add the magic, and it's like adding sprinkling when it's like SEO needs to be baked in from the very beginning.
Yeah, totally.
That's really the best way to do SEO. That just goes back. It influences a great deal of your marketing strategy, if not all of it, or it should.
I agree. Yeah, I think letting the comment you made to sort of anyone who's doing either a marketing or a development project, bringing the SEO in early, and the biggest one for that is technical. The amount of migrations we've walked into where it's like, right, so go live is next week, time for the SEO, and it's like, okay. And if that's not done from the start for anyone else's benefit who's not an SEO, that is incredibly important, because you could risk all of your traffic that you've worked hard to build up because you thought it was an afterthought. It's really dangerous.
Yeah, agreed.
I'll just close with one thing, because I've taken a lot of your time, which I really appreciate. It's been really insightful for me. The one sort of key takeaway, we talk about SEO is always changing. I guess what further changes do you think that SaaS, particularly I guess CMOs and the C-suite, need to be aware of or prepare for in the next sort of coming year?
Ooh, I think we've hit on a lot of it already. Is you have to divert if you're going to focus on SEO as a strategy, you have to diversify. So you gotta shift your focus from just pure informational queries to kind of moving that up funnel, because again, like we said, Google's taking a lot of that traffic. It's right off the SERP page. And then the other thing I would say is, and this is to SEOs and CMOs in general, I would say is, focus on, you got to invest in the brand. And that's a risk. That's a hard thing for a startup or, kind of a growth centric company to do, because it is risky. And we're going through that honestly at Paylocity as well. So I'm speaking from experience, having been in these conversations. It's hard when you're growing so fast to want to invest in something that isn't an immediate return. But it is so important for a company. That's like the mature long-term play that we have to play. And it's consequential for SEO because, like we said, Google does pick up all these signals. Something that we're struggling a lot with at Paylocity is we've done all this really great work getting non-branded traffic, but we still struggle to like show up on review site pages for and that actually impacts the success of SEO, because the Google algorithm says, well, you're not showing up on these third-party review sites, so like we're not going to show you for the super strategic keyword that you would love to rank for, even though we have a very well optimized SEO page for it. It's like that the third-party validation is not working. So I would just tell CMOs, like, think of SEOs as part of your brand strategy. SEO does a lot of things. Yes, it can be a bottom of funnel strategy, but it's top of funnel strategy also. It's part of your brand strategy. I would say that like SEO, there's a component of SEO just about in every area of the funnel. And so if you're only treating your SEO team like a lead generator, then you're doing it a disservice. It can do so much more than that. And I just think as the Google algorithm gets more and more sophisticated, we can't win as easily as we used to with things like traditional link building strategies. And we've invested in that, and I'm not saying it's completely worthless at this point, but I do think that Google is getting more sophisticated to where like that's not that. Sometimes I see a very loose correlation between how much I get, like how many links I invested in, and like what the result of that page is. Sometimes I don't invest at all in links, and I still do really well for a keyword, or vice versa. I invest a lot in links, and I can't get onto page one. And so I just see that like it's like it's I don't have data just to like prove it definitively, but just the anecdotal evidence that I'm seeing is like the brand aspect of your strategy is just so much more important in the Google algorithm. And I think that's just a result of it getting more sophisticated. Like I think Google ultimately wants the search engine result page to be a reflection of how a human would naturally rank things. So that does mean that a bigger brand is going to have an advantage,
Yeah, but like you say, invest in your brand. I think that's a good key takeaway, and I think it speaks to EEAT, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's what Google wants: reputable content with authority, with trust built into it. And if you've got a trusted brand, and you can show you've got trusted people within that brand authoring content, I think that's a big thing that people. Maybe that's how we steer the conversation into an SEO aspect. With CMOs, like you're investing in EAT, WEAT, which is a part of SEO, but really we're talking about brand and
right.
authors and
yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, people get caught up on EAT, and Google's always saying like it's not a ranking factor, and it's not. It's a framework for the algorithm, and for those who aren't familiar, it's like it's experience, expertise, authority, and trustworthiness.
Yeah.
So it's like. I think it's like the framework or the architecture that informs their algorithm. It's not a metric itself, but it's meant to like reflect the principles behind the algorithm. So it's like the more trustworthy your brand is, the more authoritative your brand is, the more likely it is to do well in SEO. And like we said earlier, it's like that's not just an SEO's domain. That is the corporate marketing's domain. That's the product marketing's domain. And so it's all got to work together.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's a really good closer. Amazing. Thank you for all that insight. Hopefully people took away a lot of it. I really appreciate your time and you being here, and it was really insightful.
Yeah, thank you so much, Paul.
Michael.